Okay.
All right. Welcome, everyone. My name's Susan Lucci. I'm here in Chicago, Illinois. It's Wednesday, August 3rd, and I'm here with the amazing Dr. Linda Howe. We're going to have one of our juicy conversations. I want to let you know that behind the scenes, we're supported by our amazing A team of Jean and Garen and Rachel, all here with the Linda Howe Center for Akashic Studies. I would love for you to let us know who you are and where you are calling in from. Our chat will be open just for a few moments if you want to put your name and location, whatever chat you're calling in from. I know we have folks from all different platforms, thanks to our great tech team here. So go ahead and let us know. Hey, Nilda from Texas and Nadia, Dallas. Oh, more Texas. All right, great.
Texas.
Maine, yeah, Alaska.
Yay.
Wonderful. Canada. Welcome, everyone. Colorado, New York City. Yeah, Linda's mission is to take this work to the ends of the earth. And look at this. Hello, Belgium. Hello, Brazil. Hey, Madrid. Hi, Vermont. Wonderful. San Diego. Yeah, right. Everyone feeling into these beautiful places. Switzerland. England, the Netherlands. Yeah, great. And you hear and see Dr. Linda Howe here. I'm going to just give us a little context and overflow. And of course, the floor is going to be hers today. I've been working with Linda for about, 15 years now. And one of our latest projects is this beautiful book, which I hope you have in your hands or on the way to you. Yeah, hi, Illinois to India. Wonderful. Thank you. We'll let the chat keep going so folks can weigh in, and we'll close that in a little bit. So why we are gathered here today is to talk about self-care, which is a word I've noticed increasingly used in our culture. And so first, we'd like to set some context, both a historical and Akashic Records perspective about self-care. Then we're going to marinate on this with one of my favorite parts about Linda, her meditation. So our whole team is excited to be here, actually, to ground together and meditate. And we're going to enter into a conversation, Linda and I, including weaving in some of your questions. And along the way, Linda's also going to do some reading from this new book, The Heart of the Akashic Records Revealed. So that's our flow for today. I will tell you when I interview, I'm going to let it be organic as well. So I've done the best to tell you kind of the overflow. And we will end with an empowerment exercise because we do want to send you out into the world today feeling more inspired and empowered to really shine your light where you are. So before we begin with the centering, you might want to grab a journal, a pen, a piece of paper. You might want to close the door, turn off your phone, get into a comfortable position. As I said, we will have some centering, some meditating. We want to bring in your whole mind, body, soul, and heart here today. So just take a moment to settle in to where you are. And then Linda, welcome. I'm going to turn it over to you just for a brief centering in this moment in time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for a wonderful and warm welcome. It's great. I'm so excited everyone is here. So let's take a minute. So I don't know about you guys, but I know I'm like ready to leave my body and go, jumping around and dancing, but I will spare us, right? So let's take this moment and close our eyes. Let yourself go deep within and open your awareness to who you are. You are a person. This is a very real condition that we're in. You're somewhere on the face of the earth. Let yourself get a sense of your location. I'm here in Chicago. And you are in India, Texas, Alaska, Brazil, Belgium. So plant yourself. And take this moment to identify the boundary of time and space. And make the distinction, not a separation, which is impossible anyway, but make the distinction between yourself and your past. Your past today, this life, and all your prior incarnations. Imagine drawing a beautiful curved line to make that distinction between what we call then and what we call now. And now, if you would, direct your attention to the place we call the future. Nice. And at this time, give yourself a chance to make the distinction, not a separation, between who you are and who you are becoming. After our gathering in the coming year, for the rest of this life and beyond. And so we stand, each and every one of us, in the fullness of our integrity, the product, the convergence of who we have been and who we are becoming. And in this moment, every part of you, every particle, right? Every molecule, cell, every atom of your being has been prepared for you to be right here, right now. And from this awareness, we open our eyes and return to the space. So, now, I don't know about you, but I know I often become aware of things, have ideas when I'm in that kind of a state, and I like to make notes, okay? And if you like to make notes, this is probably a good time to do that. All right. I wanted to talk to you today about, about everything, but we're going to start with this whole idea of self-care, which you and I both know. I mean, we all know how fashionable it is. Everywhere is self-care this and that for self-care. And, if you care for yourself, you'll do X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a real sucker for advertising. I love it. And I get all kinds of, I have more lipsticks of the wrong color because if I loved myself, I would get the lipstick. That, of course, is all wrong. I have begun to understand that self-care has nothing to do with things, right? Unless they are useful in the moment at the time. And I want you to know, I've got a lot of junk built up learning that particular lesson. Anyway, I was thinking though about how my mom understood self-care, right? And how her mother and my dad's mom, I mean, all the grandmothers and the aunts, and I come from a long line of what we call very strong women. And they were very strong and they were hardworking, determined bunch of gals, right? And all mothers of many children. My own mother, I'm second of 8. So there was a lot. But my mother understood self-care to be too indulgent, right? That was only for selfish people. And that if a person really loved themselves, they would sacrifice, right? Until they fell over. And so of course, so there were 8 of us. I mean, I think sometimes I wake up, I think, what if I woke up on the worst day of my life and I had 8 kids? What would I do? I don't know. I would go back to bed personally. I don't know what you would do. But do you understand, this is, but the fact that my mother had 8 children and her mother had 6 and her, right? And we go on and on. This was evidence of the way they understood self-care, right? Right, so that self-care was rooted in this deep sense of inadequacy and unworthiness. It's the old paradigm that we're just not good enough. And if we work hard enough and earn the pleasure of some deity, anyone is fine. It makes no difference. They're all about the same, right? If we earn that approval, well, that's really the name of the game. The name of the game was something called self-love, which either took the form of self-sacrifice, right, or self-indulgence. Neither one particularly appealing in my mind. I mean, both like, oh, very sticky. We don't want to get near them. But the fact of the matter is that self-care was all about getting. It was about earning. It was about getting. And so, and this paradigm, right, this was universal, it was global, was based on the idea that and it was a high religious idea in every religion, can I just say, but the ancient truth, the ancient understanding was that we humans, we're really kind of, I don't know, we're not worth much. Don't let it go to your head. Don't think too much of yourself, right? And you're lucky you even get to be here. All right. When we begin from a place of conviction in our own unworthiness, self-care can only become ugly. Whether it's extreme self-sacrifice, martyrdom, and martyrdom, I come from a long line of martyrs, very fashionable. In my family, the person with the saddest story wins the prize. Everyone would sit around the kitchen table and talk about how terrible life was and how everyone, it was like a contest to see who had a worse, whose path was the worst. And we took great pride in that. So you can imagine my astonishment when I'm working in the Akashic record. And what comes to my awareness is that there is a new paradigm, there is a new possibility. And that the truth of the matter is not that I'm unworthy and I have to get good or get better. The new idea, which is really radical if you think about it, the new idea was that human beings, no matter how they look, are all rooted in essential goodness. Nobody's out there bad getting good. That's not what this is about. And so I began the journey of learning about how to be more conscious of the internal essential goodness. Now, listen, that doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but it means that each and every human being is coming from a place of striving to experience, express, and really unleash all this love inside. This is now we're going in a different direction. And I don't know about you guys, but this really upset me because I came from self-care, had something to do with manicures, okay, which I still like, manicures, lipstick, all of this. The problem is that was not, they didn't work. I mean, everything works for a couple minutes. I mean, we know that, but there was no internal shift. And the internal shift for me came about as I worked in this Akashic record and I discovered that there was nothing I could do that was so terrible I would get thrown off the planet. There was nothing. every behavior that I ever engaged in or that anybody else did. So anything I did to you, anything you did to me, anything we did to one another was always based on the idea that it was our best idea at the time in an effort to connect with more love. Now, you're probably a quicker study than I am because it took me years to wrestle with. I was like, oh, no, no, no. I'll tell you, I know some of you already work in the records, some of you don't, but I want you to know the records are very resilient. So I can go into the records and have my meltdowns and my fits and raise my questions. There's no damaging the records. So that's good news. Anyway, so the new paradigm is that we are rooted in our essential goodness. Okay. And from there, self-care takes a completely different turn, right? So really the purpose of self-care from an Akashic perspective is to make a more conscious connection with the love that we have for ourselves, right? Because it's already in there. There's nothing to get. It's about making a conscious connection with it and enjoying it, right? To experience, express, enjoy that love that's inside. So self-care, I don't know about you. I love systems. I love rules. I like charts and graphs. I like all of this stuff that says, okay, on Thursday, do this, and we'll call that self-care. I like things that are predictive. The problem is human beings aren't like that. Life isn't like that. And I'll tell you something else. The Akashic record isn't like that either. Because the record is like, you'll know when you get there. Well, that's a big challenge. So I don't know, it is, it's very challenging. It's easier to be prescriptive about this. But when we are overprescribed anything, it begins to lose its effectiveness. So the challenge for us is to look at the moment to see, what can I do to stimulate my awareness of the love that's in myself? Okay. Sometimes it's bake a cake. Sometimes it's go visit a neighbor. Okay. The purpose of self-care is to keep us balanced. Appropriate self-care, right, is to keep us balanced in the truth. And at one side, we have self-neglect. Okay. And on the other side, we have self-indulgence. And true self-care finds the middle path, which is, I don't know, to me, very stunning and beautiful. When we're balanced in this truth, what happens is we find our place, right? And so it's easier to receive. And then, of course, it's easier to give. One of the great, I guess it's like a blessing of self-care, is that it empowers us to find our place of highest good. I know that sounds corny, but it's true. To find a location where we can give and receive from life, because life is not about, it's not all about giving, thank God. And it's not all about receiving. Okay. It's about this being the link. I am the Linda link in the circle, right? And you know, you are the Diane link, and you are the Wendy link, and you are the Ruth link in the circle. And that's what self-care makes it easier. It's not the answer to everything, I'm sorry to say, but it does make a big difference. So the other thing is this, that I think is so interesting, is that in the midst of all of this, especially in these crazy times we live in, right? So we're looking for the Taoism, right? The Tao of self-care, right? What's true in the moment, what's the best way to love and care for myself. As we do that, as I do that, I find this place of spiritual fitness, right? Because I don't want to be a beat up old bag going out into the world trying to give people things they don't want. It's not helpful. So there is something called, in this spiritual fitness, it's taking care of myself and you. That self-care, it used to be that self-care is self-indulgent, right? It's all about, oh, the self, and oh my God, and I have to get away from everybody, and blah, 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 right? That's, in the old paradigm, self-care was isolating. It's very isolating. In the new paradigm, self-care helps us to link consciously within ourselves, between us, and then among us. This is the real, it's like the highest value of self-care, so that we're able to find some harmony and balance. Okay, and balance is not rigid, right? Harmony is not rigid. Good news, bad news, right? It's somewhere in the middle. So I think this is enough to get us going. I'd really like for us to do a meditation. What do you think, Sue? Good?
I think that sounds great, unless there's something from the book that you wanted to weave in here on spiritual fitness, perhaps.
Do you know
Maybe.
what? I'll tell
Or
you.
if you want to roll in, we can roll it right into the meditation.
No, do you know what? This is good. Okay, so listen, here's the book. I love this book. I love it. I love it. But here's the thing. It's just a paragraph on self-love.
Perfect.
Page 49. Self-love. There is a critical distinction between self-love and self-indulgence. Love is based on humility, rooted in accurate self-assessment, recognizing all of God is within me, but I am not all of God. Honoring that I am both an infinite, eternal, immortal soul and, at the same time, right, a finite, temporal, mortal human. This is true for each of us individually and all of us together. Everyone was designed this way. We are all unique expressions of the divine. We are not special, nor are we the only ones with divine magnificence residing within. While our spiritual growth supports our unconditional regard for others, it does not give us license to indulge in selfishness or immaturity. True self-love involves discipline, responsibility, commitment, and honorable service. So that's really where that's at. Okay.
That's really great, Linda. Yeah. And I love the centering you started us with. And I'm like calling myself into that to again remember to kind of disconnect from the past as we try to shift into this new paradigm. So just conscious that for some folks that this might be a brand new concept. So maybe we just take a breath together, and we thought this might be a wonderful time just to marinate in it, right? We're not telling you this has to be so, just kind of offering this. And so wherever you are, have your journal close by. We'll leave a little time at the end for you to capture your own wisdom around this. Yeah, Linda, take it away from here. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is a time, again, to close our eyes and open our awareness. Giving yourself a chance to really take your place in the here and now. Go ahead. Throughout time, all the time that has delivered us here, and all the time that will follow, there's only one you. The way you are. The personality, right? The emotions, the consciousness, the body. This is a once and forever experience you are having of yourself, and we are having of you. You can use the parentheses to make the distinction between yourself and the past, and then yourself and the future. As we come to understand the essential and eternal goodness in ourselves and others, we recognize there's no reason to really cut off the past or the future. Mm-hmm. We've mentioned this primary paradox, right? You know, a paradox is something that really on the surface doesn't make much sense, right? But upon deeper inspection, we discover the truth of it. And so I invite you to find your truth in the paradox, the primary spiritual paradox. That on one hand, you are infinite, you are eternal, you are immortal, you are unlimited at the level of your soul. No challenge too great, no task too daunting. You are there for it. Your soul ready, willing, able to love you and everyone it encounters on its magnificent journey. What's especially stunning about this awareness is that if you let yourself go to the very edge, just let yourself kind of go out there to what you think is the edge, right? And here we find it is not an edge at all. It might be a curve, might be a tilt. And from there, it extends forever. This is you. Returning yourself to this, we'll call it a safe zone, right? Between the parentheses. Mm-hmm. We open up now to the other part of the paradox, equally true, equally important, critical actually. The simultaneous nature that you as a human being, you are finite. There is a day you were born and there's a day you're going to exit. Okay. Your human vehicle is limited. Mm-hmm. You have a certain height, a physical constitution. When you look in the mirror as a human being, you don't see everyone, you see you. With certain capabilities, right? Certain vulnerabilities, whether they're emotional or physical. You know, I'm short. I'm like 5'2". What that means So I've never been a basketball player, right? I'm not a linebacker for the NFL or any other football league, simply because that is not to be this lifetime. As a human being, you are temporal. You are of the earth, a mere mortal. Great, finite, limited. Oh, it's harsh for so many of us. It is for me, right? I like the other one much better. The challenge we all face is to allow both to be true at the same time, embracing the whole paradox, not one side over the other. We can have our opinions on which side we like better, but the fact of the matter is, it's all true. See if you can find a place within yourself. It may be in your belly, right? It may be in your heart. It may even be under your feet, where this paradox lives alive. This is a living paradox. Mm-hmm. And as human beings, we sometimes find ourselves leaning into one part and then another. See if you can find your own personal balance here. Okay. You know, when I do this, I reduce my expectations for myself. I like to be completely like on terra firma. And being in the reality of this paradox means I kind of shift from one foot to the other. And that's okay. It's okay. Find your own balance, your own comfort. Mm-hmm. And from this place, you want to open your awareness to your soul's journey as human, all the lifetimes you've had. This soul, the soul that is yours, that is you, has lived many, many times. And in these times, you had ideas about self-care. Mm-hmm. Some were very useful. Maybe you recognized your need for privacy or time alone, or you recognized your desire to be with others and socialize, maybe be involved in political activities, education. The world is a wonderful place with many avenues of expanding awareness and growth. And on these roads, you have been tinkering around so many different ways of taking care of yourself. You may become aware of some times when your choices really weren't very helpful, right? Perhaps as a mother of young children, you ran away and suffered terrible guilt. The options here are there's a lot of them. We make so many mistakes. It's all right. It's all right. Good. Continuing to expand. Open your awareness to your ancestors, your predecessors. They may seem very real to you. They may seem very distant. It's a little bit, it's different for each of us, but open your awareness to them. These are people who've been striving to uncover the truth about how to take care of themselves in so many unusual situations, right? Whether times of war, famine, right? Some really rough times. And also, right, the great lifetimes of luxury and opulence, right? Notice the way your predecessors wrestled with the idea and the execution of self-care. Now, there were some activities that stimulated your awareness, right, of your connection with others, other activities that didn't. Just notice. And take this moment to be in gratitude for those who've gone before you, for yourself, for having traveled through time and space to get here. You have come to this lifetime with the opportunity to rediscover and re-engage the understanding of self-care rooted in appropriate self-love and respect. A lifetime like no other. This is the one. And you have come to master this, even though sometimes it seems like you won't. You will. This is one of the many reasons you're here. And so for now, let's leave this be. Bring ourselves back. And, if you want to make some notes, you can. You don't have to, though. Whatever you want to do is fine. But just whatever, please take care of yourself as we make our way. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Come back. Hi, Sue.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we'll just take a moment for you to just slowly come back. If you still have your pen on your journal, stay there. You'll just want to keep your eyes down. Bring your awareness back to your breath. We'll wait for you. So Linda, just a few questions on my heart, having been in all of that with you. You mentioned that you'll know when you get there. And I'm thinking, like, even as we dropped into the meditation about the felt sense, as we shift paradigms, right? And knowing that these old beliefs can so frequently still catch up with us, even if we do this ritualistic cutting off, of the past. How do you experience that knowing, or what are some clues or tips that we might look for to catch ourselves, like still operating from the old paradigm versus moving into that new? Feels like another kind of balance.
Okay. This is very interesting because one of the things I've discovered is to give myself space with this. It's an experiment, right? We don't know. It's not like I know and I'm pretending I don't know. I don't know. And I can't go to any, it's not like my predecessors knew. So the first thing is to have mercy on yourself, but it is to have some room, like, wait a minute, to understand this is an experiment and I will make mistakes, as opposed to, I already know because my mind tells me it's a good idea. So there will be no mistakes here. And if there are, they'll be hell to pay, or something equally awful will happen. The fact of the matter is, with this self-care as an expression of self-love, it's an experiment. I like to start small, right? Because if it's too big, well, first of all, I never do it, but it's so small. So whatever, I have things like, I have a balcony, and I like to go out on my balcony and have a tea. Now that's not a big deal, but when you're, sometimes it can be like, well, I'm not going out on that balcony, right? I mean, it's kind of goofy, but it's wonderful to go out there. Now, here's the thing. When I am on track, what happens is that the action is satisfying. There is a moment where my mind gets off my case. Okay, now listen, this is really funny. See, I think having a coffee is a form of self-care. But here's the thing. Do you know, first thing in the morning, a cup of coffee, it really is an expression of self-care. It makes it, it's an expression of self-love. It's like, it helps. I feel better. Let's go. But that same cup of coffee at 4 p.m, oh, no. And if I veer in that direction, first of all, my conscience starts to bother me. My mind gets louder instead of quieter, right? In the morning, there's no conversation. It's like a done deal. In the afternoon, my mind says, are you sure? This isn't a good idea. So there's the haunting ensues. And so rather than, one of the ways I know I'm on track, and I've seen this for so many others, is there is a sense of certainty, peace. It's an assuredness, like, oh, this is the right thing right now. Do you know? And when that happens, it's wonderful because there's inner peace. And here's the other thing. This is really interesting. Is that when the self-care is appropriate, what happens is I feel more connected to the people in my life rather than disconnected. Do you know, it's interesting. So, my son is 28. I have a 28-year-old son. This is great. He's engaged. I mean, where it's all, it's very exciting. And she's like really into being a bride and all this. So it's, it's just, I feel like I'm on another planet with these two. And I am, I think, but it's wonderful, right? Because they're so happy and all this. But, when parenting an adult child, well, let's say when parenting an adult, I cannot treat him like he's 9. I can't even treat him like he's 16 and hide the car keys, right? Actually, he lives out on his own and he's got his own thing. So self-care in my relationship with my son involves being more honest about my own needs. Like I'll see you later. I need to take a nap, right? Whatever it is, being more honest, direct, forthright. But here's the result. When it's true self-care, it is always well received. Even though he might say, I don't understand what you're, I don't understand why all those rigmarole, just go take a nap, right? But what happens is the connection is stronger. So I think there's a couple of things. There's inner peace, the mind quiets down, and the connection with others is enhanced. That's beautiful. Real self. I mean, but that's a surprise. I wasn't expecting that part, right? I thought, oh God, my mind will shut up for a few minutes. That would be great. But there's more.
Well, and I contrasted to the practice of martyrdom that is, well practiced in my family too. And I think how I know I'm in that place is a very different sense, right? I'm exhausted. My mind is really, really loud racing, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, that's the thing. I was raised on martyrdom, and and I don't know. I mean, it served me well for as long as it did, and then it really didn't work. But I'll tell you why. The resentments with martyrdom, there was never enough. which is really amazing when you're all haggard and strung out. I mean, I don't, I'm like, oh
True.
my
Yeah.
God, but with martyrdom, no one is happy. I'm not happy. You're not happy. I mean, if I give you like, here's the keys to my house, take the dog, take the car, take it all. It's still not enough when it's martyrdom. And martyrdom is and the reason it's not enough is because it's rooted in the idea that I am not enough. And I am trying to, it may look like I'm doing something for you, but do not be fooled. I am trying to get something from you. I want your approval. I want you to say, Linda, you're such a good girl. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for all of us to think about what is that not enough version of that voice for us as kind of a red flag. One more question before we get into one of your empowerment exercises.
Sure.
We've got a book about manifesting soul's purposes that you've written, and is there any relationship between self-care, self-love, and manifesting our soul's purposes? You talked about like expression, and so I'm curious about that.
Yes. So, all right. The highest form of like self-care is an avenue. Self-care is what will take me to my soul's purposes. Okay, so it's instrumental at every level of soul's purpose, right? So self-care will bring me into the understanding of my soul's purposes, and the actions involved in self-care, along with the consciousness, are what help me to bring my soul's purposes to life, right? Now, it's a funny thing because what we're doing right now, this is one of my soul's purposes. I mean, I'm thrilled. I am like so happy to be here. I love talking about this stuff. I love your questions. It's just really, so soul's purposes are the way we express ourselves authentically, right? At this point in our lives, they are beneficial for us and others. Even if it's an isolated soul's purpose, right? I mean, the truth of the matter is there are about 7 or 8 people on the planet who are here to go into the mountains and meditate. Of course, we don't know them, but you understand that's their soul's purposes. I'm grateful they're doing it. It's good for us all. But see, that's not my soul's purpose. I don't think it's yours either, Sue. And so if we make a trek up the mountainside, it will be for naught. Right? I'll be upset. The weather isn't right. The chair is wrong. The rice isn't good. I mean, the whole bit. And it doesn't bless anybody. Right? And what beautiful. I mean by blessing is, there's something that happens when we are engaged in self-care, expressing self-love and soul's purposes. It's like it's the trifecta, right? But when we do that, every action is infused with our highest capability of love in that moment. And that's now we're in the bonus round, right?
Yeah.
So, does that make sense? It's interesting how they all work together, but they do.
Yeah.
Self-care can be a segment of soul's purpose. It'll deliver us, and then it will help us express.
And it really draws me to get curious around nurturing, right? So I avoid the voice in my head that might say, is this self-indulgent? And if I know that by nurturing myself, the self-care, self-love, that it connects me with the world and moves me out into the world, right? That helps me really dance. And I also know from my experience, when I'm in that place, it also energizes me too, and a kind of knowing. But with about 10 minutes left, why don't we move into, one of my favorite parts of this book are there's dozens of empowerment exercises. And so I know that you chose a special one for our audience today. And I thought, if we could launch into that. And so to all the folks that are with us, this might be another place that you want to, another time, you might want to grab your journal and really allow your own wisdom to come through as Linda moves you through our next part of our interview today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So,
Thanks, Linda.
I wanted to, my observation for myself and others is that it's very easy to get stuck when it comes to self-care. And by stuck, I mean, like, I keep repeating the same behaviors that just are not satisfying. And it seems like the more upset I get, the more stuck I am, right? I think it's one of the laws of stuckness. So I thought it would be helpful to get some insight into clearing these stuck patterns, right? Clearing our karma. So this is, I want to just read to you a couple paragraphs from 55 and 56 in the book, right? So this is a key concept for all spiritual seekers is karma. We want to recognize it within ourselves, understand its purpose, and most important, learn how to clear it. Okay. Now, it was first identified by the Buddha in about 500 BCE. Karma is the law of cause and effect, right? And what that means is that for every effect, there's a cause. For every manifestation, every one, there's an initial idea followed by an action that brings it into form. Every idea has a natural external manifestation. The idea is within us and the expression is outside of us. Every consequence or result has an originating notion. This is not good, nor is it bad. It's just how life works. Okay. Sometimes this pattern of cause and effect repeats itself, playing out until we accept the reality of the cause-effect relationship and begin to make different choices that bring about other effects or results. This process is natural. However, the process stalls when we have a negative opinion or judgment about the cause, the effect, or the people involved, like ourselves. Our condemnation brings the cycle to a halt until we make peace with the cause, effect, or the people involved. Negative opinion, judgment, or condemnation cause the process to get jammed up. This is the nature of negativity. It's not personal. It works this way for every one of us. The intensity of our negativity, this is a doozy. The intensity of our negativity freezes the flow, and we're caught in the pattern until we find a solution. If negative judgment is the problem, then acceptance is the solution. Once acceptance has been introduced into the cycle, the dynamic changes. Acceptance facilitates release. Okay, this does not imply approval, but involves a basic recognition of the ideas underpinning and driving the demonstration. And it necessitates an acceptance or recognition without judgment of the process and the people involved. When we decide that either the cause or the consequence of anything is bad or wrong, our negative assessment keeps the pattern in place. As we relinquish negative judgments about any situation, resistance ceases and we move toward acceptance. Acceptance facilitates release. As we make peace with who we are and who we have been in all circumstances, we gain freedom from our stuck karma. The pattern of cause and effect collapse in an atmosphere of understanding and acceptance. So it's interesting to me that the way out of being stuck is through extending acceptance, understanding, kindness, and respect to the self, rather than any other hard action. So let's take a few moments here to close our eyes, opening our awareness to ourselves here and now. There is an atmosphere in the group today. You may have a sense of it. All right. There is a way in which we are all connected, no matter where we stand. The light of light shines from me to you, you to me, and everyone else in our group today. And in the awareness that we are already connected, we want to bring our most clear and free self to this really great adventure we're all involved in. Our intention here is to dissolve a karmic tie, right? So that we can be more free to care for ourselves and others. So at this time, if you would, bring to your awareness something you've done that you're not very happy about, a mistake you made. Right. And you have been upset with yourself. Maybe something happened, you didn't see it coming. But it came, and it caused you distress. Bring to mind some situation that has been repeating itself, a pattern of behavior. Choices you make unwittingly. You don't mean to make these choices. But, oh my God, you did it again, like that. Take a moment and describe to yourself what it is you have been doing that is causing you some grief and anguish. Now, we know that you are always in a valiant search to discover the most loving solution to any and all problems in your life. So let's take a look when you first started doing this and the valid reasons for the choices you made. It's highly likely you were taught to respond in this way by people you respected. It's possible that you had the idea that this action was going to handle this for once and for all. As you consider your own behavior, we recognize there was no malice here. No evil intent. And this wasn't like, there was no intention to cause harm. Extend to yourself the kindness, the mercy, and the respect for taking action, for striving to grow Mhm. Good. Mhm. Self-love invites us to extend ourselves to ourselves, and then, of course, to others, even while we're imperfect. In your current state of imperfection, is there some way you can express kindness, comfort, compassion to yourself? Can you love yourself even though you're imperfect? As a human being, as a soul, it's a different story. Your behaviors do not alter the fabric or the constitution of your soul, but your human self. And take a look and see if there's something, some way you can extend yourself. You are rooted in infinite, eternal love. It's like oozing, it's trying to find its way out through you, right into the world. Is there something you could do in the next 24 hours to stimulate the expression of that love to others, to life? You as the hub of your entire life. This is a planet of action. Look to see if there is an action you could take in the next day or two, expressing the love in your heart. Chances are very good that you are, by nature, a nurturer. This is a gift. What, how can you give to others that nurtures you? What can you do for someone else that really nurtures you, satisfies you, enriches you? This is the second part of the self-care equation. The first part fills you up. The second part you share with others. So, you want to let this go. I know it's a lot, right? It's a lot. You want to bring yourself back, bring your human self back, bring your whole self back, please. I don't want anybody floating around in the ethers out there. Come on back. Okay, if you need to make some notes, you can. But I love bargains. So listen, thank you very, very much. I'm so glad we could do this. I'm sorry we ran over. Go live your lives, be the wonderful people you are, and let yourself love freely. Why not? If we're lucky, we get 80 years. Go have a good time. Thank you very much. I love you.